A couple of things that I think that are amazing about what you do is, and I think the world needs to hear about this. The world, the 10 people that will watch this. Cool, I'm making loads of money. You were like, shit, those people are going to be tired as fuck.
So like getting that email through was like, oh, I mean, cool, great money, but also that sounds like a real rough shift.
And this is the industry where those lines are so always blurred at all times because of the nature of the whole game anyway.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, sometimes blurred for the wrong reasons, let's just say.
Oh, shit. Welcome to another episode of Bar Talks. I have with me my good friend Elliot Ball. Doesn't have Instagram, doesn't really use Facebook, shies away from social media, generally wants to see the world burn. This is the alternative bio.
Not the usual intro, but fine.
Yeah, I'll take it. One of the reasons I wanted to pin down Elliot is because we've been friends now for like 10 plus years. And while he has been a successful bar owner, opening multiple venues, I talk to a camera. So, quick fire round. You are a bar owner. You still pull operational shifts every week.
Yeah, you won't ever come in here without finding me on point station on a Saturday because I just am a little bitch for dispense. I just absolutely love being on dispense.
Perfect. You have 4 venues that you're a part of.
Yep.
You have how many staff? Roughly.
Including me and Ollie, we've got 7 on the rota here. We've got 6 on the rota at Murder Rink. Down at Philosophies, there's 5, and at HMSS, there's 5.
Cool.
You could do the maths on that.
30 plus staff.
What? That's not.
Whatever. Also, the business has been operating since 2014, 15.
Yeah, we incorporated it in 14, but we were 3 24-year-olds and so we didn't actually manage to find any kind of a landlord that would deal with us in any way.
Zero outside investment.
Yeah.
So completely bartender, 2-bar owner, 100% ownership.
Yeah, a lot of luck involved in that. Basically, we were doing consultancy for a couple of venues, and Andy had this idea to, after we finished the consultancy, after we'd submit it, he was like, why don't we just try to take that little underground space off their hands? So we submitted like a proposal for like paying an obscene amount of ground rent, but in exchange for that, they would essentially do like a lot of the build for us. So we had no money, but it only cost us like about 15 grand to get the first bar off the ground, and you know we had some savings.
There's 3 of you. There's Andy, yourself, and Ollie.
Yeah.
Right, and you're all basically the same age. Let's just talk about them a little bit because 3 bartenders turned bar owners, still all in operation. Mm-hmm. You and Ollie tend to be in charge of this side.
Yep.
And Andy's in charge of the other venue, Murder Rink in Soho.
Yeah. So Ben Alcock is our partner down in Bristol, and he deserves like a solid 99% of like any recognition that goes to those 2 parts.
Yeah.
Like we were involved in the setup of HMSS in the early days, and then we sort of like we participated in the general like setup and build of Filthies after that. But the actual operation and what they've truly grown to become, that's all Ben.
That's all Ben, yes.
We support him, and you know, if we have a good idea and I get those new tap things, and you know, we'll make sure that they find their way down to Bristol. But fundamentally, those are his bars.
And then the reason I want to bring that up is because I think it's amazing. You've got like 4 almost different business owners and partners essentially. How's that been going?
If you spend like a little bit of time in the pub with like me, Andy, and Ollie in particular, you'll see 3 extraordinarily different people. We have 2 main things in common. The first one will be very obvious. The second one, we would need to do a lot of performative shit for it to be clear. Basically, we have very similar senses of humor, but we also have, and I hate the phrase, but there's, you know, I'm being asked directly. So like we have a similar sense of like duty and integrity.
Right.
So we've got quite a lot of like moral overlaps and stuff. In particular, we've got a lot of like moral curiosity. Like a lot of what we do involves asking, what is the right thing to do? Is it possible to do that? And when you've got, you know, different people bringing different viewpoints with different experience, but all of them have like a real like interest in pursuing the most like ethical decision, then yeah, usually 3 heads are vastly better than 1. We opened 4 bars in our first year, 2 of which were dodgy pop-ups, which we rolled back, and you know, we don't at all regret that. But that first year was hell. Like it really, really was hell, and we're incredibly lucky that more things didn't go wrong. But undoubtedly, it was our sense of humor that kept us going there.
A couple of things that I think that are amazing about what you do is, and I think the world needs to hear about this. The world, the 10 people that will watch this. You've got a member of staff who's a barback, who's been a barback for 4 or 5 years.
I wouldn't say there's a barback. You're probably talking about Pete.
Yes.
Pete, no, in many ways, he's now kind of like our head bartender in a very like organic sense in that we've never hired a barback. Like everyone we've ever hired is meant to be able to do literally every job in the building. The induction of any new member of staff involves showing them literally top to bottom how the whole business works. I do barback shifts. Most of the time, someone's first shift also involves them doing the cash up. Like we don't just want that transparency, we actually need it. We need everyone to kind of like have a degree of equality within it. But guys like Pete coming on board and staying with us for now over 6 years kind of undermined that equality to an extent because I can't be paying that dude the same after so long. And also after he's picked up so many skills, and you know, I joke about him basically being this like Davy Jones sort of aspect to the bar where I saw like, I think part of a footstool poking out of his calf the other day. Where you see like parts of the bar are now just like ingrained into him. This new menu like is pretty much entirely his baby.
Right.
And so much of what makes that great is better than what me, Andy and Ollie could do if it was just us three, because you know we've now got someone who can easily keep up the creativity and then push it further. But he's also the most experienced in terms of just basic standards. So he's the guy who like realistically does most people's training for how things should stick to, you know, our set of basic standards. Yeah, fascinating guy.
And he managed to get a house recently. He's got a mortgage, and you've helped him do that. You're an owner who's so invested in his staff that you have found a way to help someone who has a position, a job title that legally would not entitle him to being able to get a decent mortgage, but you've made that. You've gone above and beyond to make that happen.
Well, the thing is, I don't even think that's an especially ethical thing. I think that's just sensible. Like, if you're going to have people who are going to like be with you for a long time, which you know means that they obviously grow a lot at work, and that's great. And if that's mutually rewarding, then absolutely excellent. But also, people's personal lives progress as they get older as well. So for us to not be able to cater to that position for someone who's been with us 6 years and will experience 6 years of personal growth is probably just to like massively disincentivize a member of staff who will inevitably move on. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the things we talk about with our team, a lot of the support we try to give is of a naturally personal and spiritual nature, because none of us hire automatons or econs, we're all hiring people. And that means there is a pretty blurred line between, you know, what's your personal life and what's work. And if we can help with that, then obviously we absolutely will, because Pete's, you know, he's family now. It's 6 years. It's crazy.
This is Pete coming in. No, this is. We've been talking about you coming in. No, we have actively. This is Pete. This is the Pete. This is the 6+ years freshly baked mortgage owner, and all-round good guy.
He's also 2 minutes late.
I wasn't counting.
He was 15 minutes into a rant, so it's fine. You're good.
Cool.
This is said Pete.
I'll let you continue your ranting. I'll get set up the bar.
Thank you, Pete. Sorry for just awkwardly putting you into a situation you did not want to be a part of. No, we were on a trip together the other month, and then you were checking the take from one of your venues. You could see it immediately the next day, and you were saying, "Oh, cool. We made like 1,700 in a night with 2 members of staff." Remember that?
Yeah.
And I thought it was magic that your first response was not, "Cool, I'm making loads of money." You were like, "Shit, those people are going to be tired as fuck." Can you sort of evaluate on that?
No, I mean, like, you know, it's easy to make this like sound like that was a really sort of like Marvel moment. In fairness, I was more or less laughing at the time because like 1,700, that's net, so you know it's basically 2K. Not especially expensive, but like high end and quite like labor intensive drinks for 2 people on like a Monday that's a rough time. Like if I was on the Spence doing that shift, I would be laughing to myself, thinking like, oh boy. So like getting that email through was like, oh, I mean, cool, great money, but also that sounds like a real rough shift, and it just pays to just check in and just see how that was. Partly because, yeah, I mean, you gotta look at it from the customer side. Like, there's a chance that maybe that actually wasn't great from the customer's perspective, but also from the team's perspective, it doesn't make any sense to be burning people out. You know, I was away in Romania with Dan, which actually left a small hole in the rota, which means that, yeah, I'm the owner, but I'm also their colleague, and if they had a rough Monday because of that, then I 100% owe them a couple of beers to say sorry. Or maybe, you know, I'll find a way to cover a shift afterwards. But all it amounted to in the end was I swapped a couple of things around so that someone had like a later start and someone had an earlier finish, and it didn't cost me anything to do that. It was just obviously appreciated by the team members who'd had a really tough Monday.
And this is the industry where those lines are so always blurred at all times because of the nature of the whole game anyway.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, sometimes blurred for the wrong reasons, let's just say.
Oh, shit. So, how many people in this bar take cocaine?
Right now, none that I can see. No, I mean, like, I think the whole team now, I've got a horribly harsh view of, like, coke and stuff like that. So, conveniently, I'm pretty sure we haven't really got anyone that's that into it, but yeah.
So you're not, cocaine's a shit show. You're cocaine in the industry, which it's an open secret. Like there's so many people using coke all over the world. And I think we've had this discussion where every single time someone's done an asshole thing, they're usually on cocaine. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we were saying in that discussion is like pretty much every time I've heard the whole thing of, wow, did you hear what so-and-so did? And someone's reaction is, oh, I really thought that was like a nice guy. There's just always cocaine in that equation. Like always, anytime someone who is, from what you can tell, a pretty like decent person has behaved in a completely unacceptable manner. Yeah, obviously there's some nasty shit beneath the surface. There's some poor values. There's the usually awful self and mutual respect bubbling away there. But the catalyst, and most of the times I've observed it, has been someone did too much gear. And that just sucks, watching people just like ruin their careers from that. I mean, sure, maybe they deserve to have them ruined anyway. Maybe they were just bad people and this brought it to the surface. But it still doesn't take coke out of the equation. And in a more long-term thing, like what really bothers me about like long-term usage of cocaine is it introduces this ugly third option. Like we've got all these Marvel films basically showing us these epiphanies where someone realizes either I know how to make myself a superhero now, here I am, I'm a superhero, or I've realized that I don't need to be a superhero now and I'm gonna self-accept and be happy. And when we encounter our insecurities, those are basically the two choices we have. They're never portrayed in the same movie, but they're fundamentally what's on the table for us. Is we either identify that we need to grow in an area and find a way to grow, or we identify that we actually don't need to grow in that area and it's our own internal standards that matter, and then we learn self-acceptance. One is a more physical growth, the other is a more spiritual growth. But when you have substances that basically allow you to escape that possibility and just like arbitrarily make yourself actually feel okay, sure, it's okay to like escape these insecurities for a little bit and, you know, maybe rebuild and come back to them and have healthy conversations. But if it becomes an addictive pattern, then you can lose 10 years to that shit. And that insecurity isn't gonna go away. And that's honestly why I hate it so much as a drug. It's not because it turns you into an arsehole in the short term, though it almost always does. It's more that I think it just steals people's time. And because our industry is so accepting of it, we end up with these entire like cliques of people who are all fine with that. And then they become your friends, and then all of a sudden these standards are horribly distorted. And yeah, rant aside, don't do drugs like that. It's bad.
Get help. It's like the Michael Jordan thing.
Cool, Frank.
But I think we've covered a whole bunch of stuff there that, although disjointed, gave a really good insight into who you are as a bar operator and owner. I think there's a whole bunch in there that you've mentioned that we can definitely explore. And I think if any of you are watching this episode, have any FAQs, Q&As, anything that you want to explore, if we want to bring Elliot back and maybe explore a bit more about his operation, please let us know in the comments, because I think there's a lot more we can uncover here. But I just don't have the capacity, because I don't spend enough time with you, to know what we can uncover. Does that make sense?
Sure.
But thank you for doing this, and I'll let you go back to work while I go and have food.
Sounds good.
Thanks you. Bye.